Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, the podcast that opens up those opportunities and possibilities that spirituality can bring to you in your everyday life. Welcome. If we haven't spoke before, my name is Matilda. I am a professional psychic medium with over 20 years experience working here in Australia. Today's episode is a little bit different to the one I had planned to bring you. I've been working on interviewing clients. Many people have said they want more stories about readings and the afterlife. And I have been slowly working at interviewing people who've had experiences with myself and explaining how readings have helped them, either through their grief or through some things that they have been going through. Unfortunately, the audio was a little bit off and I'm going to have to edit it a little bit more than I had planned. And I am running out of time. I am leaving for Melbourne in 2.5 hours. So I thought I would do a very quick podcast episode for you. Talk about fear and how it prevents you from enjoying the moment and some tips and tricks to deal with that. Talk about the final push of the election and go over my October and November. No, Matilda, get your head in the game. My November and December predictions that I have put out. First of all, I am going to talk about a prediction that I made at the beginning of the year and something that I saw coming in for the east coast of the USA. I've talked about this extensively. I saw severe flooding and storms hitting quite a range. And I did say October, November, end of October, early November. I still think it may happen. If I'm wrong, I am wrong, and I am happy to admit that I am wrong. Please stop asking me about it. Please, please, please. Be prepared if it happens. I am not a weatherman. I was bringing to you what I saw. If I don't bring it to you, I would be in even more trouble. The wall of water certainly appeared in Spain at that time. Could it have been that? Could I have misconstrued it? Possible, but I did predict flooding for Europe as well. So I am not infallible. But guys, stop pinning your weather hopes on a medium. I do see that this particular winter is going to be diabolical with both water and snow. So just be prepared, guys. Do the things I said. And as climate change enters in to 2025 and we are made abundantly aware that it is going on, you will be grateful of anything that you have purchased and any preparations that you have made. Because there is not an area of this globe that is going to be untouched by climate change. Now, I'm not saying that to make you fearful. I'm making you aware that next year is a big year with weather. So hold on to your hats, keep your wellies by the front door, and just keep checking the weather. I know you are in drought. I know there have been fires. I make these predictions out of context at the beginning of the year. If water falls heavily on very dry ground, that is when we get flash flooding. So be aware, be prepared, be careful. As we hit the final 24 hours towards the United States election, there is a lot of fear out there. There is still a lot of people sitting within anxiety and fear. What I want to say to you is this. Try and harness the moment. This moment, this historical moment, that is a good historical moment. You are not going to get back. Try not to face it with the fear that many people are talking about. It is impossible to experience the aliveness of the present when we are caught in fearful thoughts. We are projected into the future and experience a cocktail of chemical reactions that cause stress on the body. And I understand that you and many of you are suffering because of 2016. But this is different. This is different. Think about it as a lesson being learned. The lesson being that the United States of America were faced with a choice in 2016. And yes, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. But that was a lesson as a whole, as a collective. This, as we move in to 2025, is an opportunity to redeem yourselves as a nation. So that is what I'm going to say about this. But try and find practices that help you enjoy this moment. Many people will enjoy spiraling through the anxiety and the fear instead of looking at opportunities to get out of that spiral. Think about things that, even if it's just for the short term, that you can do to help yourself. Go swimming, do some form of exercise, catch up with a friend. Try to tune into selective news reports rather than remain focused on every single news report. The internet is a wonderful medium, but my gosh, does it throw out some rubbish. The future will take care of itself, I promise you. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough present. That isn't me, that's Eckhart Tolle, but it makes sense. Fear steals away the wonderment of the present moment and offers little in return other than stress and disappointment. It is not a responsible giver, but takes away joy and well-being. If we subscribe to the narrative it promotes, we have no choice but to buy into its way of life. And when we do, we are at its mercy because it has sold us a fictitious way of life based on one aspect of reality. Life is not about fear and disasters because what we look for, we are certain to find. If we go looking for negativity and disappointment, we will find it standing on every street corner and waving to get our attention. If we look for joy and bliss and happiness, we must intentionally cultivate them and give them space to flourish. We ought to find activities and hobbies away from technology to invigorate us. Seriously, if you want to go bar hopping with your friends, do it if it's what helps get you through. But enjoy this moment. I have spent the last couple of years helping those in the US build up their faith, working on opportunities to help you build your courage of what we are facing in the next 48 hours. It is time to take control of your own sense of self and your sense of fear, because you are the only one that can control it. If you continue looking for that magic pill, it's not coming. Find something that contributes to your personal growth rather than stealing that away because you are bored or anxious. I would advise anybody that is concerned, and by the time this comes out, you'll be partway through the voting day and probably halfway down a bottle of wine. But try and remain focused on the joy that is to come. I do believe that you will have a really good idea by the close of polls, sort of midnight 2 o'clock, some areas. Do not be concerned if Trump tries to call the election early, because, we know he's going to do that. And do not lean into the fear. He's just being a meanie, stupid poo-poo head. This is his downward spiral. You remember, if you've ever been through a really difficult time where you felt that the world was caving in, that there was no way out, that every avenue you turned was shut. And often what happens when that happens, it is the beginning of something beautiful. And this is it for the United States. I really hope that helps. I'm going to jump in now and give my Patreon members a shout out. My new Patreon members, a shout out, because that's what I do every month. Now, if you are a Patreon member and you are experiencing issues with your Patreon account, I need you to do 2 things. One of them is I want you to double check that you are logged in the right way. Often people have chosen to a free account and then they get a paid account. And that sometimes happens, and it can be really confusing. So can you check through the messages that I have put on Patreon? Can you check those links? Make sure that you are logged in. Check your access level and that you have the appropriate access. If you do not have that access, I have to go back to Patreon with your contact details. And obviously, with everyone telling me the same thing, I cannot just pull out lots of different things. So can you please put, either send me an email at matilda@mediummatilda.com with your email address and your name and access level. And can you put a message in the chats? And if you can't access your account, you won't be able to access the chat. So that's ridiculous, Matilda. Send me an email. I need your details, or go under one of the messages that I've put on Patreon, because I need to sort this out for you as best I can. And without all of your details, I can't do that. So send me messages one way or the other, and I will fix it for you. I don't know what's going on. It is not something that I can have control over. I've been waiting for Patreon to come back to me. They emailed me like half an hour ago and said, who are the exact people that are saying that they don't have access? And that's what I have to do. So thank you very much. I will try and do that over the next couple of days. I've got nothing else going on. It's all good. The next thing, if you don't know about Patreon, it is a paid membership. Most of the stuff that I put up is for free, but there are different levels of access as a member. So we have extra podcasts, we have extra newsletters, extra predictions, all of those things go onto Patreon, and you get access to that. And there's different levels of paid membership. Included in that are discount codes for reading. So some people are getting $100 off, $100 plus off a reading, and early access to my readings, which often sell out within the first 2 weeks of every month. Gee, that was a mouthful to get out. You can tell I'm in a rush to try and get this out, can't you? Yes, I'm very professional. I appreciate you bearing with me. So we're going to thank my newest Patreon members, as I do every week. And those that join as a paid member get a shout out on this very podcast. Angela Sterling, who has joined for 12 months, Debbie Lorcher, Joan Murphy, Jess, Asha Jones, Julie Vasquez, Christina Fulweiler, Debbie Lorcher. See, you've joined twice, Debbie. See, this worries me when people do that, because I worry that you're paying for 2 memberships. Kyla Turner, Shauna Beam, Sue, Tina C, Queen Williams, Hannah S, Lisa McDuffie, who has joined for a year, Joy, Kay Denise Samuels, Robert Cabral, Shawnee Thornton, Ashley, Linda Lung, Sally Becker, Bill, Kathleen, B, and Jenna K. You guys rock. Lisa McDuffie has joined for 12 months as well. Thank you so much. You guys rock. Without you guys, I would not have this podcast, and I do appreciate it. And, you know, we get some amazing reviews on our podcast. I'm going to read some of them out if you don't mind, and if you don't mind me indulging you all. Got so many comments last week, and CL Maida, thanks as always for your guidance and words of wisdom. Please get well soon after your surgery. We will miss you. Thank you, sweetheart. Tiff Marie G needed to hear this. This was the episode that I did on resistance and resilience. So thank you for that. Isabel, dear Matilda, my best thoughts for your surgery. Thank you very much, lovely. A lot of people saying thank you very much for, thank you. A lot of people saying, oh my gosh, I swear I shouldn't have sat down to record this today. I should have just given up. But I wanted to put something out for you. A lot of people saying good luck for your surgery, and I really appreciate that. And my Patreon has been full of love this last 24 hours. Seriously, it's only a spinal fusion. I'll be back on board in a couple of weeks. I promise. So thank you. We are really, really lucky to get such beautiful reviews. The feedback that I'm getting is that the content that I'm creating on the podcast is really helping people. Let me know if that is the case. I want to continue putting out very similar content, but what I am adding is just those experiences of evidential mediumship for you. Now, I'm going to talk about my latest prediction video because I do like to give you a little bit more in-depth on the podcast, just so that you get the deeper tea if I have it. I'm going to give it to you exactly as I have it. And I don't get everything. You know, I'm not a magic worker, but one of the first ones I said was floods expand worldwide, but especially in USA, UK, Europe, East Australia. I'm going to continue to say that the East Coast and Central, Midwest, I think it's called, in the US is likely to experience quite significant flooding between now and the end of the year. When I say significant, I mean more than usual, okay? If I am being shown it, it doesn't mean it's an everyday event. UK, that area, I'm going to include Ireland in it because I do feel like Ireland is likely to be flooded. I do want to say the Southampton down to that sort of Portland area, all the way down there. I do think there'll be quite a lot of flooding in Cornwall. I think there'll be flooding, like I am being shown the middle of the country, the middle band, Gloucester, Cotswolds area. That's what I'm being shown for now. And I do think, I don't know if it's Birmingham or Nottingham. So if you're in those areas, just be prepared. East Australia, the whole East Coast is going to have water. I think Melbourne off it's not Phillip Island, it's the other area. See, my geography is rubbish. The Mornington, no, not the Mornington Peninsula. Yes, the Mornington Peninsula, but also where they had the fires last year or 2 years ago will be flooded. It's quite a holiday destination. and Gippsland. Thank you very much, Gippsland area. And I think Melbourne will experience some more. Sydney definitely is in for a lot of flooding. And I want to say south of Sydney, not north-south. And again, Brisbane, Queensland, Brisbane down rather than, I think it's Brisbane down, but around Queensland. And I do think that there is likely to be some significant wind issues. So be prepared for that. It is not, it's going to be a hot summer, but the issue that we're going to face is the rain is going to bring the growth of the undergrowth, and then we are likely to see significant fires in January and February. And don't ask me the locations because I do not know just yet. Shock high-profile arrest is politically involved. That is all I am going to say on that, because all I have been shown about that is political. NATO has issues or unpleasant news. This is connected to Russia and Ukraine. I feel like Russia are pushing the buttons. I shouldn't say that. I don't mean like the big red button. I mean pushing the boundaries of what they can and cannot do. Okay? Terrorism threats worldwide. This is a knock-on from the conflict in the Middle East. I feel like there will be snapbacks happening. I am really hoping that they are threats only. At this stage, I've only been shown some significant incidences, and I don't feel like they are mass casualty incidences. But if you are living in capital cities, and I've said this for the last couple of months, I am talking the London, and I'm not talking about not going there. Please, I don't want messages from people saying, I need to go to London. Do I not go? I don't know exact dates. I am just giving warnings that you should be aware of your situations. We're talking the Londons, could even include things like Sydney, Washington, New York, that sort of thing. It's people wanting to push buttons and get attention, and it is connected to the Middle Eastern war. But it is worldwide, and I feel like we will get worldwide travel warnings during December. Australian ocean creatures behaving weird. I feel like this is more West Coast, I will be honest. I feel like beached whales, beached animals, that sort of thing. It's the heat. It's the day. It's almost like I see a complete wash up of fish that have died because of the heat. So it feels like the water is too hot for the creatures. Unrest in the UK. I feel like this is an angry bunch of people kicking up about the Labour government, to be fair. I have spoken at depth about the UK on a Patreon-only podcast. I keep it to Patreon only. I think that realistically, the UK wouldn't be happy no matter who the Prime Minister is, because they want what they want and they want what they are used to, and it is systemic change that is happening. And in order to serve those that are truly in need, they are having to withdraw things from those that don't necessarily need. Now, they may not be doing it in the best of ways. I don't think there's any way that is good when people are used to a certain amount of expectation from governments or from their government, but they have to do something, or the government or the United Kingdom will go into bankruptcy. End of. There will be no money for anything at all. And you're talking about nurses getting unpaid, police not getting paid, firemen not getting paid, let alone the politicians. So, yes, it is not a perfect system. No, do I think that the government deserves to be paid what they are being paid? No, I do not. But changes need to be made. And it needs to be a state of being uncomfortable and difficult in order for it to grow again. Remember what I said at the beginning of the podcast. The other ones I don't have a lot of deep information about. If I get it, I will bring it to the next podcast episode for you. And what I see coming in the next week is I do feel like there'll be some unrest in the US. I don't think it will get out of hand. They are ready for it. People are going to arc up, but they'll soon crawl away. The decision is probably going to take a week at least. It's going to take at least until around the 10th of the month to get a final decision on the outcome of the election, but you will know. And I've said that from the start. You will know who has won because it will be very, very clear. It will not be down to a couple of hundred votes. It will be down to thousands and thousands and thousands of votes. Best of luck, and everyone. I am thinking of you, and please try and enjoy this. I will be back in a couple of weeks. A little less chaotic, a little less manic, and hopefully I will have found Spider in my living room too. I will be back in a couple of weeks. Thank you all for your good wishes. Mandy will be updating my Patreon when she has news of how I am. But guys, people have this surgery all the time. I really appreciate your love and the outpouring of support. But I'm going to be fine. I keep convincing myself of that. And if you weren't on live today, I'm going to tell you a little story before I sign off. I got a phone call yesterday from my anaesthetist, just asking, basics. And she asked me if I was going to put a bet on the horses because today is Melbourne Cup Day. And that's a horse race, if you don't know. And the world stops. Australia stops for Melbourne Cup Day. And everyone gets a day off work. And I said, no, but I might put a bet on the American election, having a joke. And she said, I kid you not, she said, yeah, I was going to too. She is actually American, and she said that she voted in the last 2 elections and she's holding her breath. And if she has any news, she promises that she will tell me as she wakes me up from my anaesthetic. So there you go. It was meant to be. Lots of love, everyone. Thank goodness this is nearly over. It is going to be a stupendous, amazing, wonderful event, and we can start thinking about something else. Love you all. Talk soon.